The Spotlight brought to you by Beacon Plumbing.
Good evening and welcome to The Spotlight. I'm David Rose. And tonight we're exposing some of the hidden horrors of sex trafficking in our state. Bellevue police recently busted a sex offender who detectives say was running a brothel out of his rented home in Maple Valley. Investigators say Tony Eldridge used two websites to advertise sex with women. One of them was a 15-year-old girl from Tacoma. In court documents, a detective described the websites as prominent in the greater Seattle area. So how prominent? The Spotlight's Nikki Torres found more than 300,000 Washington-related ads on just one of those sites.
You'll be arguing for release.
Tony Eldridge made his first appearance in a King County courtroom today. The 42-year-old was seen shaking his head as charges were read out to him and as the state talked about his criminal history with commercial sex. Eldridge is facing consequences on human trafficking charges, promoting prostitution, and child rape. Detectives arrested Eldridge at this Maple Valley home earlier this month. A room in this house also served as a place where people could have sex. Eldridge's arrest came after police found a 15-year-old victim at the Courtyard Marriott in Bellevue. She told police she was being forced to have sex with his clients. According to court documents, that teenage girl told detectives Eldridge was using two websites to post ads for her, stating she would have sex with them for money. She said Eldridge used skipthegames.com, but would use tnaboard.com more. In those documents, the detective noted these sites are prominent in the greater Seattle area. After researching TNA Board, there are thousands of ads for sex on this website, but it's clear there are more in the Northwest. Idaho has about 10,000 ads, California has more than 11,000, Washington has more than 375,000 ads for sex.
I don't take solace in the fact that there's even one out there. Any ad out there is a danger to a child. It only takes one, and whether there's 300,000 ads or there's one ad, there is somebody out there that's looking to be a predator to a child, and we need to go after that person.
Special Agent in Charge Robert Hammer with Homeland Security Investigations says his team constantly keeps tabs on these sites, but they keep coming.
It's a game of cat and mouse. We'll find one, we'll shut it down. The operators will open up another one under a different name.
So, why not just shut it down? We've seen this happen before with Backpage. However, HSI tells me they're more interested in the web pages and its customers.
How beneficial would it be to actually just turn off the entire website and shut that avenue down? And so that's where we continue to look for. We continue to look for getting the biggest bang for our buck in terms of the investigation and really going towards those choke points. And in our view, it's the servers, it's the websites that are hosting all of this material and opening up these avenues of communication with these children.
HSI tells me it's more important now than ever to keep conversations open with your kids and teenagers. Like it or not, there are predators online and they are finding every opportunity to connect.
These predators are entrepreneurs, right? And so where one door closes, they look for another door to open. And so whether we address one problem, they're always going to be looking for how they can satisfy their sick desires.
That was Nikki Torres reporting. Eldridge has a prior trafficking-related conviction out of Multnomah County in Oregon. In this case, his attorney asked the judge for reduced bail or if he could be released with an electronic monitoring device with internet trafficking. The judge denied that request. Eldridge is being held on $500,000 bail. A brazen car theft is caught on camera in Columbia City. This video from a Fox 13 viewer shows the moment a woman's 2019 Kia Forte was stolen. It shows someone run towards the car and jump in through the back window that they'd already smashed out. Another angle shows the Kia being driven out of the driveway, and you can see a group of people standing in the roadway. Then one by one, they each jump in through the broken backseat window so they don't set off the car alarm by opening the doors. And then they drive away. New auto theft numbers show a shocking amount of cars stolen in our area. So far this year, more than 24,000 vehicles have been stolen across our state. This is from the Puget Sound Auto Theft Task Force, and this graph really paints a picture of what's happening. They say almost 1,700 cars were stolen just in King County in the month of July. More than 600 were stolen in Pierce County. So that's an average of 75 vehicles stolen in just those two counties every day. When it comes to crime in Tacoma, summer months are usually the deadliest, but that trend seems to be slowing down. The city is seeing a drastic drop in violence, not just for the summer months, but the entire year. Spotlight's AJ Janabel talked with police about what they say is making their streets safer.
The City of Destiny has garnered a violent reputation in the recent past. 2022 was the most deadly year on record in Tacoma, with 45 homicides.
My hope is that what we're doing will have an impact, being highly visible.
In May, Tacoma Police Chief Avery Moore talked about his crime reduction plan to City Council, and numbers I obtained Monday show, with about a 40% drop in killings so far this year, that plan seems to be working.
There's a little relief.
I asked Officer Shelby Boyd with Tacoma Police what the department is doing to make its city safer. She tells me officers are focusing on hot spot policing, meaning they patrol problem spots in the city, places like the 8800 block of South Hosmer Street. From January to August in 2022, there were 15 killings in the police sector where Hosmer Street is located. In the same time period this year, there has been 3 homicides.
I know that there have been a couple different cases where an officer, because they are doing that proactive policing, is on scene or very, very close to where that crime is taking place, therefore getting an officer on scene much quicker.
Boyd says changes outside the department are also having an effect on the drop in violence.
Legislation is huge. Some of the laws have been changing to give officers back some of those policing tools that were taken away.
There's still 4 months left in the year, but Boyd tells me she's hopeful the positive change will continue, especially with the support from the people of Tacoma.
I think it's the communities out, they're reporting. I think that working with the police is a huge thing.
Reporting in Tacoma, AJ Janavel.
When we come back, a return to the Mercer Exit homeless camp. We first toured this back in January. Since then, there have been some explosive new developments. The heat is drying out brush, which means we're seeing more brush fires, like this one in Seattle. Crews tell us this fire started at an encampment near Lake Union by the Mercer Street exit. The flames sending billows of black smoke into the sky and snarling the evening commute. The man accused of setting this fire on Monday has been released with no felony charges filed so far. The defendant's attorney argued the fire was an accident, though prosecutors say he abandoned the camp and didn't tell anyone when the fire took off. Prosecutors say the Seattle City Attorney will now determine whether any misdemeanor charges will be filed. The spotlight has had the Mercer encampment on our radar for months, and that fire was just what neighbors were afraid would happen after multiple complaints to governing officials, but plenty little response to show for it. The Mercer mess represents a resilient problem that stretches across our state. Camps on WashDOT right-of-ways that are much harder to clear because of the land they're built on. One of the most audacious new builds in Seattle sits on the Mercer Street exit right-of-way. It has room for 2, with easy access to Lake Union, Amazon, museums, and restaurants. The house itself is the latest in green living, built entirely of reclaimed materials left over from nearby construction.
You would just see them on a daily, just go back with stuff, building stuff.
Susan lives next door to the Mercer Street camp. She sees the drug use and desperation. She wants the people there to get the help they need.
Obviously, these people, they have problems, serious problems.
But Susan feels like now it's her problem, and a problem for the whole neighborhood. Crime, drugs, property damage.
A lot of police, a lot of the fire department goes next door. Sometimes it could be at least 4 to 5 times a day.
But she says no one in government is really taking charge, while the camp keeps getting bigger.
Even when we do call them and tell them something, they don't do anything. So the people that are doing the damages are just getting away with it.
Clustered along the I-5 and I-90 corridors, an astonishing 2,221 camps have cropped up on WashDOT right-of-ways, according to the department's latest survey. And long-term structures like the ones off the Mercer Street exit now appear in more than half of them. More permanent structures allow the risks for WashDOT to pile up. Hypodermic needles are the most common danger, followed by human waste and biohazards. Workers who come to the camps have been threatened with violence. And let's not forget the risk to motorists. As we prepared this story, a fire broke out at the encampment bordering I-5 near Yesler Way. Flames bursting from the trees as cars steered clear and the camp cleared out. But the real danger to the community only emerged after the smoke cleared. Police found weapons, $7,000 in singed cash, along with meth, cocaine, and fentanyl. This wasn't a shelter for the downtrodden. This was a straight-up drug den spread out on state land. So I went to the landowner, Governor Inslee, who promised this camp and the one under the Ship Canal Bridge were going to get swept as soon as possible.
We have plans to move almost 200 people in the next couple of months out of those encampments.
The next couple of months, so I asked the governor, why not now?
Well, it's a partnership. The Department of Transportation first locates the problem statement. Then we work with multiple agencies, with the local police departments, with local nonprofits, and the nonprofits, usually the ones who actually we contract with, so that the nonprofits operate the shelters, operate the tiny home villages, operate some of the subsidized housing that we've built. And then we need long-term housing.
Inslee says this housing first approach adopted by the state and local agencies has been working. Since last spring, 17 right-of-way camps have been permanently swept clear thanks to the policy.
The 369 people I think we moved off of our right-of-ways, the vast majority of those people are still sheltered and housed. They haven't gone back because we've provided a place, as opposed to just chasing people from one corner to another.
But 17 locations cleared equates to less than 1% of the total number of camps on WashDOT's right-of-ways. At this rate, it will take more than 40 years to relocate them all. In the meantime, those who live and work near the camps have been left to wonder why housing the homeless seems to be more important than their safety.
I understand that it is the philosophy of the authority to wait until people are ready and meet people where they're at. While we wait, people are slowly dying under a bridge, and our children, families, and school staff are being subjected to this public safety hazard. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good here.
The mayor of Spokane shares that mom's frustration. The city sued after WashDOT allowed Camp Hope to grow on its right-of-way until 600 people were staying there.
The city of Spokane has spent nearly $1 million to mitigate the impacts of that encampments on the neighborhood. And that includes private security. It includes trash removal, overtime, police overtime every single day for 12 hours a day.
Spokane's since been granted $24 million from the Washington Right-of-Way Safety Initiative, but the camp is still there.
Our cities are impacted by the policy that has allowed homeless encampments on state right-of-ways. And what do we do as a jurisdiction when we really have little control over the encampments that pop up when they're in the city limits, but they're on state property?
Like Spokane, right-of-way camps are a growing drain on Seattle city resources. For example, the Seattle Fire Department responded to more than 1,500 fires in homeless camps in 2022, up 80% in 2 years.
We also have to be honest with everyone and realize that some of these conditions are unsafe and there's criminal activity that we concern ourselves with.
Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell told me the state is creating a no-win situation when asking communities to choose between safety first and housing first.
We are trying to do the right kind of work to make sure it's safe for everybody. And I think that, if I may elaborate, I think most people realize and have empathy for a person that is so down on their luck and they're sleeping in a sleeping bag and somewhere. They understand that. But I think where their empathy starts turning into fear and even anger is when they see the blatant criminal activity that seems to go unchecked.
Well, since our report, the largest right-of-way camp in Spokane, Camp Hope, has finally been cleared out. As for the Mercer camp, the city says they plan to clear this camp sometime next week. Still ahead, a Utah boarding school where a Snohomish County girl died facing a new lawsuit. Another local girl is sharing her story about what happened inside Diamond Ranch Academy. An ex-student of a troubled teen therapeutic boarding school where a Snohomish County girl died says she feels lucky she got away from the Diamond Ranch Academy alive. This week, the Utah-based campus officially closed its doors following a state investigation which found staff neglected to treat 17-year-old Taylor Goodridge as her body went into deadly septic shock. Shay Penn of Auburn was also a student there, beginning in the fall of 2015. She tells the Spotlight's Alejandra Guzman that what happened to Taylor was not an isolated incident, and she has the lasting injury to prove it.
My legs were like taken from underneath me.
That night is seared into Shay Penn's memory forever.
And then they were on top of me like immediately.
She was just 15 when it happened.
I knew that I needed to get out of there, but I didn't realize at the time how bad.
A natural-born rebel with a turbulent home life in Auburn, Shay had been sent to the academy in the fall of 2015.
I thought it was normal at first.
The school touted itself as America's leading teen therapeutic boarding school with a college-like campus, licensed therapist, and accredited academic programs. But Shay claims that for her, it was a prison where the teaching was done through pain.
There's a certain area, like if you press it, it's like really painful. But they would like use their hands and just like put as much pressure as they wanted.
And not just on Shay.
They really liked restraint techniques.
Caitlin Shar, a Georgia native now living in Whatcom County, was just 16 years old when she met Shay.
We all kind of hung out together
and suffered together on a regular basis. Shay's lawsuit claims that on several occasions, Shay was subject to the utilization of physical restraint, not to stop her from harming herself or others, but as a means to punish her. But the pain from those episodes pales in comparison to what Shay says happened to her on December 20th, 2015. In her lawsuit, she says it started when she got into an argument with a staff member. Caitlin was there when it happened.
I don't remember what it was about, but it definitely wasn't anything major. She was just yelling at them.
The whole staff enters the room.
And they dragged her down the hall into a back room.
Just threw me to the ground.
And they were just all kind of in a circle around her, closing her in.
Just pinned me hard to the floor.
I remember her screaming that I can't breathe.
And immediately they started pressure points.
And the staff member said, if you can talk, you can breathe, and then continued to restrain her.
The lawsuit describes in excruciating detail how at least 4 staff members used pressure points to keep Shay immobilized.
They moved from not just these pressure points, but they used their fist and put their weight like this on my face.
They held her there, like that, for 25 minutes.
That must have been very painful.
Finally, they let Shay get up off the floor, telling her repeatedly to, quote, wipe that look off her face.
When did you realize something was wrong?
The next morning I woke up and looked at my reflection, and when I blinked, one eye stayed open, and I couldn't smile or move half of my face.
The treatment? Student was given ibuprofen and has been resting in sickbay.
Yeah, I couldn't close my eyes, so I taped them.
For the next several months, pictures show Shay hiding her face. Over time, some of the feeling and movement returned to her face, but she says her spirit will never fully heal.
Like, I left that place, but that place never left me, and it's like followed me since.
Now that Diamond Ranch Academy is closed, we sat back down with Shay to see what's next for her.
It is relieving that the school is shutting down, but it shouldn't stop there.
She continues to press ahead with her lawsuit seeking unspecified damages for her physical and emotional trauma. Her trial is currently set for 2024. Shay is grateful, though, that her pain can still serve a purpose.
Every day it still affects my life, and if starting a conversation and talking about it can save another person from experiencing that or save another family, it's worth it.
That was Alejandra Guzman reporting. We reached out to Diamond Ranch for comment, and they told us DRA cannot comment due to privacy laws and other concerns regarding confidentiality. DRA will defend the actions through the court process. Spotlight will continue to follow Shay and Taylor's cases, and we'll let you know what happens. Still to come, police take the plunge as a man sinks to the bottom of Portage Bay, and it's all caught on camera. Caught on camera, a daring rescue in Portage Bay. A Seattle Harbor Patrol officer jumps into the water to rescue a man from drowning. This happened last Friday. Officers initially threw the man a flotation device, but he wasn't able to grab it, and he quickly sank. So an officer dove down to find the man at the bottom of the bay and pulled him to shore.
When I dove in, I initially didn't see him because there was so much milfoil in the water. He was probably about 10 feet deep. And the second time I dove down, I saw his hand sticking up. And luckily, I was able to grab it and pull him up and swam him to shore and started doing chest compressions because he wasn't breathing. And his color was a little ashen, and I just kind of knew he was in trouble. And so if we didn't do anything at that time, I didn't know if he'd make it or not.
Officer Turner says the man was not breathing when he brought him up, but his team performed CPR and he regained consciousness. He was later taken to the hospital. Earlier this week, the death toll in the Maui wildfire passed a grim milestone. More than 100 people killed, making it the deadliest wildfire incident in the U.S. in more than a century. With more than a third of the scorched area searched, Hawaiian officials estimate that more than 1,000 people are still missing. Officials fear that possible storms this weekend could hamper the search in Lahaina and other areas across the island. Local Red Cross volunteers are in Maui right now assisting with relief efforts. This week, we spoke with the Red Cross about what those volunteers are seeing there on the ground.
A lot of families have lost everything. We're seeing thousands come to our shelters in need of food, in need of a place to stay after they've lost absolutely everything. So I spoke with one shelter volunteer who said there's so much pain and hurt around us, and we just hope that we can offer a smile and a hug and hope that that helps.
Fox is partnering with the American Red Cross to help out victims of the fires. And so far, we've raised more than $2 million. For a link to donate, just go to our website, fox13seattle.com. And our prayers to everyone affected by those fires in Maui. That's all the time we have on this edition of The Spotlight. Until next week, be smart and stay safe.